everybody, and welcome to the Novel Universe with your hosts, Dawn and Ashley. And today we will be recording live, and we will be doing our spoiler free and spoiler review of Bone Crier's Moon by Kathryn Purdie. Ashley will be calling in any second. Um, she has entered the studio and she's calling in right now. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Really enjoying this coronation over here. How are you?
Starting to get a little nutty.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We gotta hire sweets. That's how we have to roll here. I may have binge watched a couple of shows, but hey, that's all right.
I haven't been watched anything but Tiger King.
Yeah, I definitely binge watched the newest Nailed It series because you can. Because
Yeah.
why not?
All
All
right.
right.
So we are going to
We're
do a
ready.
cold open for the first time. We used to do this back when the Rejector of Romance was on the pod with us. We haven't done it in a while, but we're going to bring it back for today, hopefully again. But today we are going to rank YA heroines. And Ashley is going to read the criteria, and then the first six, I think, seven, it is a combined ranking. So Ashley and I agreed, and then the top five are ones we did on our own, and we don't know how we rank them. So it will be a surprise for you and me.
Yeah, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so our criteria is that each of these heroines are focused on their mission versus their bae.
Mhm.
And there is no damsels in distresses in this book.
No.
Rating. No. We ain't playing that game. These are some badass heroines. That's how we're ranking them. Sort of, kind of, not trying to be subjective. Okay, so our lowest ranking, we have Alina from Shadow and Bone in their 12th
Yes.
spot.
Do we want to talk about why, or it's been a while?
Honestly,
Go ahead.
yeah, no, it's been a while, so I'm kind of like, she was memorable, but not as memorable as I guess my particular top five characters. So maybe we'll go into our top five as to why we thought that they were
Okay.
important for this role here.
Well, we can say a couple
Uh,
things why not, but I honestly don't remember Alina enough. So that's probably why she's on the bottom. It's been a while
yeah,
since we did that series, so
that's why she's on the bottom is because we don't remember.
yeah, she was forgettable. I mean, hey,
Uh-huh. She was. She was. So in our 11th spot, we have America from the Selection series. Now, I feel that America started off really strong. Like, she goes into this selection to basically gain money for her family, to have her become in a higher class system. But she does fall into that damsel in distress. Like, she lets the prince kind of take care of her. So, for my opinion, that's why she would be on the bottom.
another thing I hated about America is that she couldn't make up her mind, and that was I remember that being in the
I
first book where she
know.
kept going back and forth between the prince and the other guy. I can't remember their names, but that really got on my nerves.
Hmm.
And then at some point, the book came all about the guy and not the revolution. And I didn't like that by book three. So,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Okay, in our 10th spot, we have Blue from the Raven Boys series. Um, she started off like extremely well, even in her own personal book from that series is amazing. Um, but still, in my opinion, not enough to be our top one.
no, I think part of it is not her fault. Like, she was never the star of the show, even in her
Hmm.
own book. I think the boys were the star of the show.
Oh,
Um,
100%, yeah.
so, I mean, she was a good character. I liked her, but yeah.
But no, girl. Mm-mm.
No.
So in our ninth spot, we have Sophia from the Reader series. Um, Sophia, I really enjoyed her character in the first two books, but by the time we got to the third book, I was kind of like, I didn't feel like she was reaching for her stars anymore. I felt like she was just trying to find a lost piece of something that is not going to be found. And when that revelation hit, it just wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah, I would definitely say she was on a mission, but at the same time, she was trying to save Archer or Arthur. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember his name.
Yeah.
So that kind of got a little old, but I agree. The first two books were great. The third one was still good, but she didn't shine in the third book.
No.
No.
Mm-mm. She lost some of her light, unfortunately. That's why
Yeah.
she's down there. And I think I'd have to say the same about Katniss in the Hunger Games. So she's in her eighth spot, because yet again she just lost a lot of her fire, into the third book. I mean, she's going through some major PTSD struggles from the Hunger Games, and that's really weighing on her as a heroine. Um, yeah, she just lost a lot of her fire, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, that's
Yeah,
where
I don't
she's
got
at.
nothing to add to that.
Yeah. Okay. So seventh, we have Cassie from the Dance of Thieves series. Yet again, she was a girl on a mission. She set out what she needed to do. Um, but yet it just wasn't, in my opinion, I don't think it was the greatest moment in her life to succeed what she succeeded. Trying not to give a whole bunch of spoilers into each of these series, but
Yeah.
um, she's still madly in love with this guy,
Uh-huh. And
So
another thing about her is like in the first book, she was vowed to the queen and on her mission
mhm.
with the queen. And then I don't mind a hate to love relationship. I always enjoyed that. And I thought it was done well. But another one of her missions was to find what happened to her mom. So by the time you get to
Mhm.
book two, it's kind of an afterthought because Jace is
Yeah.
all in the forefront, which, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, and so then in sixth place we have Cleo from the Falling Kingdoms series. Now, Princess Cleo, basically like this girl has been through the ringer, right?
Mhm.
She's lost her home, her title, her family, and has literally just been sought after, beaten, come back again, and whatever. But yet again, I still, in my opinion, in that series, I feel like Lucia, who is the sorceress in that series, I feel like she starts to outshine Cleo once we get more towards the end of that series.
Are you freaking kidding me, man?
Nope, that's how I feel.
Oh God, I hated Lucia. I hated her so much. If we were ranking the most hated heroines, she would be at like number two. She was horrible. She was horrible. I
I
didn't
know,
like
but
anything
yet
about
I
her.
was still like, this girl, what is she doing? But anyway,
What I like about
um,
Cleo is that Magnus is a hot ass mess. He is in love with his sister. He is trying to seek approval from his father, and she has to do something with this guy because she's stuck with him.
mhm.
And I think she
Yep.
does a really good job of making him into the man that he is. And, one could say, why does she got to do that? But I mean, I like the two of them together a lot. And I think that's
Oh
why we
yeah,
put
no.
her. We put her pretty high because she would make a really good queen. We're not going to say if she becomes queen by the end of the series, mostly because
No,
I
we can't.
forgot, even though I read all the way
Yeah.
through. But that's not the point.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. It's okay. Okay, so for number five,
Well,
so this is
wait. Yeah.
for all of us, we don't know.
Uh-huh.
And Don's not going to agree with me.
I
I
think I
put
know. Go ahead.
Crystal from the Winner's Curse trilogy.
Okay.
I just she's like yet again starts off so well. Um, she's just in the sick of like the fact that Arnon like no longer like loves her, and so it's like she cares more about her empire. You know, just I yeah, I have to put her at 5, unfortunately.
Okay. That's okay. My number 5 is Selena from Throne of Glass. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I put her number 5 because in several of the books, she's really erratic and makes awful decisions to the cost of lots of people, to the point where Kale was scared of her and disgusted by her. Like, and I know she had PTSD and I know she had problems, but it was just a little too much of that. And also, I didn't like how she was always a step ahead of everybody else. Like, at some point, it's like, yeah, that's not realistic anymore. Even though this is a fantasy, don't get me wrong, she is number 5. I like Selena a lot, but I do think she had more issues than the other ladies on my list. So,
okay, well, I don't agree. I think Crystal had some major issues, but whatever. That's okay. This is why I'm ranking them, right? Okay, so number 4, I had Helene from the Ember and the Ashes series. So okay, so Helene's like story, okay, it starts to come out more in the second book, correct? Like the Torch Against the Night, which is where you learn like, you know, more about her as the blood strike and the sacrifices that she's having to make, and yada yada yada. But she is absolutely amazing in the fact that she just puts on her big girl pants. That's just how I think about it. And she's, you know, she's trying to find a way to push back the darkness and save, you know, the Empire and her sister's life, like all of these things. But I don't think that she's a bad heroine. Absolutely not. Like,
no,
she's just not my absolute favorite.
Cool.
But I don't have like anything super negative to say about her.
No.
So she's still great. Who was your number 4?
My number 4 was Kestrel. When I started ranking, I really had to start thinking about, because it was starting to get really difficult. And so I had to like decide what makes her more or less better than other characters. So I think I like Kestrel the most because all these other ladies on this list are fighters, and Kestrel used her mind to outwit everybody. And I think that's why she stands out. She outsmarted everybody. And it wasn't like it came out of nowhere. Like, her father was a general and his whole job was to strategize and win wars. And he taught her how to do that. And I thought that she did a great job. I think she, especially in the third book, she got beat down all the way down and had to start over from the beginning. And I thought that she did that well and that she prevailed pretty well towards the end of the book. Did I love book 3? No, it had its problems, but I still think Kestrel is one of my favorite, obviously, heroines. I love her. I just love her. So that's my number 4.
Okay. So for number 3, I had Manon from the Throne of Glass series. Yeah, so she was number 3 for me because this woman is absolutely amazing. I mean, she literally comes from this bloodthirsty, like, witches line, and she has to learn the difference between what true, like, queenhood looks like, and just being honest with herself and honest with the people around her who are not supposed to like know how to work as a unit. Like, it's all this like bloodlust, and she actually comes to find out what true sacrifice means. All whilst like she's got a man in the background, you know, but that man is not controlling her movements. She controls her own destiny and who she is. So for me, I would have to put her as number 3.
Okay. Well, my number 3 is Helene from Ember and Ashes. And I agree with everything you said. And the only thing I'm going to add on to that is I felt like Helene was in an awful position because she was Bloodstrike and she had to be the second in command from an awful person, Marcus. And not only Marcus, but also the Commandant. And she's a good person. So she had to find a balance of preserving herself and her sister, but at the same time going against them. And I thought that she balanced that well. And at the same time, she has this guy that she's in love with, but she does not sacrifice, her mission for her bae. She's just like, you know what? You can't do this right now. I need to focus. And I love Helene way better than Leah. I don't know if you noticed that Leah, whatever the hell her name is not on our list because she's a piece of
she's not worth it. She's not worth it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she is not.
Oh,
okay, that's my number 3.
Okay. I love that.
I think we swapped it. I think we swapped her. Go ahead.
We might have. Okay, so my number 2 is Leah from Kiss of Deception. And I had to really, really think about it.
Yeah.
Because Kiss of Deception is one of those series that it came out of nowhere, and the flawlessness of it was one to be applauded. So Pearson did a really, really good job with this series. There was so much growth in all of the characters that went through, and then even into her next series, she just continues this flawless story, right? But Leah is just there's a super duper badass woman that she is. Oh my gosh, yeah. I can't even put it into words. I just think that she's it's just amazing, and her that moment of triumph at the end of The Beauty and the Darkness is just oh my goodness. What's that one quote? Because I looked it up. You are strong. You're stronger than your pain. You're stronger than your grief. You're stronger than them. And she forces herself to her feet again.
Wow. That's great.
Hello.
Yeah,
just stop. Yeah. And her and Rafe series is their whole love story in general, because it's not your ideal happy ending at all.
Yeah.
I just thought it was well done.
Well, I might as well talk about it with you. I'm not going to say where I ranked it, but just because you're talking about it now, one of the reasons why I had her at one of the top 2 on my list is she had conviction from the very beginning. Not conviction, but she had a mission from the very beginning, and she set that out. Even though she had 2 men vying for her attention, it was never about them. The only time she used the men was she used Caden because she needed to stay alive. And so if that meant
absolutely
adding some eyelashes at him, well, damn it, she was going to do it. And I thought that Mary Pearson wrote that effectively. I thought that Leah had in book 1 where she buries her brother, and she's just I'm going to bury all these soldiers and I'm going to do it by myself and I don't care. I think that
with
was
her bare hands.
Yes.
She did it with her bare hands. Yeah. It's just are you serious? And everyone's watching and they can't help but help her. Because it's this is the most humane thing to be doing. And why are we not wanting to also show our human kindness? Just to have good morals and what that actually looks like in the face of war, right?
Yeah.
Because she's with, the other people this time.
And also in book 3 that I thought was kind of interesting is that I felt like the gender roles switched a little bit. At some point, she was kind of using Ray for his body, and he was I like that Marie Pearson put that in there, but once again, she was on a mission. Her mission is to kill the Commissar. She was sympathetic to his people. Even in the second series, she takes Kazi from nothing and it's I want you to be a part of my, army or whatever it was. So she would take care of all these other people that needed help. But at the same time, she could tell who were the people who needed to be defeated. She was never a damsel. She did all on her own. She did have help, and there's nothing wrong with help, but yeah. So, yes, I like Leah a lot too. I know what your number 1 is, and you're gonna know what my number 1 is.
I know.
I'm my number 2. I'm still on number 2. Is Manon.
Okay.
I put her as number 2. Everything you said, I totally agree. Book 3, I believe, is where she is just we meet her and she's just got blood running from her. What was her teeth made out of? Steel or
iron?
Iron teeth? Yeah. Oh yeah, because they were teeth, iron. the Iron Teeth witches. I don't want to spoil anything for people, but I feel like if you have not read Throne of Glass by now, what is wrong with you? So one thing I will add,
you will find yourself in one of the characters in that book.
One thing I will add about that I liked a lot about her was that, like I said, in book 3, she is like killing people and she's got blood coming from her iron teeth. She's a very strong heroine. She does not show weakness. But in the last book, she shows some vulnerability and she gets her heart broken. And that was the one time where she was vulnerable and she allowed herself to be. And I think that showed incredible growth on her part. And toward the end, she also suffered a lot of losses in the end of the book. But, you know, just every decision she made was great. She was a great, I liked her better than Selena. If, you know, I would read a series about her, just her. She was a really good character. She is my number.
And I think that that's awesome because, like, so coming from a Throne of Glass lovers, like, thing right here, like, I'm absolutely in love with the series. I have found that there are, like, people who are, like, diehard, like, Selena Aileen, like, rooters, and then there's, like, the whole, like, Manon tribe, because both of them are such different heroines in and of themselves. And it's, like, they're the whole entire character development of each of them is just astounding to me because, like, it takes a lot for an author to have a complete 360 character growth, right?
Yeah.
So that's what makes you, like, love a hero or a heroine in a story.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, they've come full circle. They're not just, like, invisible. They actually are screwed up messes, but then how do they pick themselves up out of that mess or deal with a trial that has come into their way? So I'm assuming that your number one was Leah?
Yep. She was my number one.
The Deception. Okay, yeah. So my number one is Aileen from Throne of Glass series.
Yeah.
I mean, we have already touched on that a lot, but I just feel like Aileen is such a twistedly vulnerable, like, brat of a character when you first meet her because she doesn't know what's going to happen, but yet she does know. Like, she's always, like, 1/100th of a step ahead of everyone else. And it's always like, what is going on in her brain? And so the fact that she can literally plan, like, 600 steps, like, in advance is mind-boggling to me. But then there comes a point where she reaches her limit and, like, has no other card to pull out of her pocket, right? I mean, it's when she's literally being tortured and chained up and she's trying to figure out if she's going to just sacrifice herself and kill herself. But, like, there's just no other way to go around this. Like, she has nothing left to pull through. You know, and then she's able to. But it's not without, you know, her learning from her weaknesses and her insecurities and realizing that she needs to allow people into her life to be able to just hold her up, just like everyone else in, you know, in the human world. Like, you need someone to boost you up. You need someone to help shoulder your burdens. Like, you're not supposed to do this life alone. So for me, my number one would be her.
I could see that.
But that's just for me personally. I mean, Leah is also, she is also way up there, you know. So yeah, this was an exciting little list here. I liked it.
All right. So now we are going to do our spoiler-free review of Bone Crier's Moon first, and then we'll go into our spoiler edition. And I will say when we are going to go into the spoiler edition. Okay, let's get started. We usually start with what we liked. No, what we didn't like first.
Yeah. Do we want to do a synopsis of it or no?
Yeah, we probably should. Okay.
So, well, I'm just going to read it off of Goodreads here.
Okay.
Just because in that way, everyone. So this is a new YA series by Kathryn Purdie. Right? Did I say her name right? Purdie? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I say it.
Um, so bone criers have a sacred duty. They alone can keep the dead from preying on the living, but their power to ferry the spirits of the dead into the goddess Alara's night heavens, or Turris's underworld. That's how you say his name, right? Yeah. Comes from sacrifice. The gods demand a promise of dedication, and that promise comes at the cost of the bone crier's one true love. Um, Elise has prepared since birth to become the matriarch of the Bone Criers, a mysterious family of women who use strengths drawn from animal bones to ferry dead souls. But first, she must complete her rite of passage and kill the boy she is also destined to love. Bastian's father was slain by a Bone Crier, and he has been seeking revenge ever since. And yet, when he finally captures one, his vengeance will have to wait. I'm sorry, I messed up her name the first time. It's Aless. Alessa's ritual has begun, and now their fates are intertwined in life and in death. Sabine has never had the stomach for the Bone Crier's work, but when her best friend Aless is taken captive, Sabine will do whatever it takes to save her, even if it means defying their traditions and their matriarch to break the bond between Aless and Bastien before they all die.
My God. Yeah, I personally have this thing where if your book synopsis is that freaking long, something is wrong with your book. Just saying. That's way too long. So Ashley and I did not know what, at least I don't know how she thinks. I kind of rated it on Goodreads, not knowing she was going to read it. So I don't know if you saw my rating.
I did, but I did not read anything of what you said.
Okay. So do we want to say what we rated it, or do we want to go into the review? I never remember how.
We can go into our I can tell you my rating, and then we can go off of what we did not like and go into what we liked. So I actually rated it 2.5.
Wow. I thought you were gonna freaking love this book. I was like, Ashley is gonna love it.
No,
I feel better.
Okay. No, I had it between a 2.5 and a 3. I cannot give it a 3. I was talking to my husband about it the other day, and I was like, I'm becoming so much more critical of books that I read. And I got to the end of the book, I was like, you've got to be joking. Those were my words out loud. No.
Oh my God.
No.
Okay.
Stay tuned, you guys. You're in for a rough ride here.
Oh, it's gonna be rough. I gave it a 2. And yeah, it's gonna be rough.
It's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Why don't you go ahead with the first thing you did not like?
It's your standard doomed romance. Standard doom romance, like to a T. Okay, like that was my first thing that I wrote down. I was like,
oh, spoil anything, because sometimes we accidentally spoil stuff, so we don't want to do that.
Nope, I'm not gonna say anything else. It's just a standard doom romance. And I just, I was able to map everything out, and I'm like, but why? And I did not. Well, what is one of yours that you did not like, so that way we can, go back and forth here.
Well, I didn't have what you had, so I will start with the characters.
Okay.
So like my very first dislike was Sabine. She was whiny and insecure, and her growth was a little too obvious. She made that girl such a loser that she had nowhere but to grow. And I didn't like that. So that was
I didn't
complaint about Sabine.
I did not like Sabine. I did not like the matriarch. She was just a terrible villain.
Yeah. Agreed.
It wasn't good. I literally was like, come on. My next thing that I had a problem with was the world building. Like, you just, all of a sudden you're just in a place and you don't really know. Like, you're just like, all of a sudden you're on a bridge, and then you're in the ocean, maybe. And then you're in like the woods, maybe. And then you're in the town. Like, it was just very, I did not like the world. That's what I'm going to say. I did not like it.
I didn't like Alice. I did not like her
Alas.
mom. I did not like Gaston.
That's the only.
Bastion, not Gaston. Bastion. We listened to
Mm-hmm.
the audiobook, and the author, the narrator, every time said his name. So the names were Alice, Sabine, Bastion. And I'm like, really? Now we're gonna put this
Gaston.
accent on Bastion. It's a little
Yep, like
ridiculous.
Gaston.
Yeah. I thought that there were too many battles. I felt, well, let's go back to the world building, what you were saying. I actually did not mind the world. I thought the world was actually, at least the idea of it, was the star of the show. I had never read anything like that. So to me, it was different. And I thought that stood out.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Well,
the pacing was bananas. I agree with that.
Yeah, and so I think that that's why I didn't like the world, because like this whole idea of like what a bone crier is, okay, like, and the fact that like they gain their strength from animal bones, and like it's all in this like big circle of sacrifice that they believe what they're doing is good, but it's actually affecting people negatively, and they don't understand that. You know, like that whole
Yeah.
thing is great, right? But I just feel like there were so many plot holes with it, right? Because you have something that starts off really well, or it could be taken well, and then it just kind of falls off to the wayside, and then somehow it comes back up again, and you're like, what? What? I don't, I don't understand. That was my other thing. Like this whole, yeah, I just like, for example, their whole like their Amory, which is supposed to be like their true love,
Uh-huh.
like that just was not explained well at all.
Yeah. I had that too.
At all.
I had that too. I was like, I don't I understand why they shouldn't be getting involved with men, because that could be a, like a conflict, or like you're paying too much attention to this guy over here and not doing your job. So I can see it from that standpoint, but why do they have to kill them? I didn't get that at all.
I
I was
know.
like,
I
okay.
know.
And I don't
I
know why killing animals. I thought the whole killing the animals and taking their whole strength thing was kind of cool, but it's kind of a disconnect. Like, why do you need
mhm.
to kill animals to get, like, what is the connection between killing animals and burying the dead? I'm not quite sure I get it. And then
Yep.
killing men, I don't quite understand why. So
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And my other issue that I have with this book is the fact that like there were some unnatural power surges between some of the female characters. Like when they're not supposed to have power and all of a sudden they do, and that's not explained. Like again, another plot hole. Like how what? What?
Can you explain without spoiling? Because I don't know what you're talking about. I need an example.
Um, so when this is not gonna spoil, but when a bone crier's bones are removed, so their grace bones is what they're called.
Mhm.
Supposedly, when those are taken off of them, right, they start to diminish in
Oh,
their power, right?
okay. Yeah.
So there is a moment where one of the main characters has been without her grace bones for quite a significant amount of time, and she just somehow is able to overcome things. That's the best that I can give. And I'm like, well,
Okay.
she ain't got her bones. She ain't got the light of the moon. I don't understand. How did
Okay.
she just be able to do that? Like, there were just some, it didn't make any sense. That's what I mean. Plot hole. Again, like, what, why? How is she able to do that? She should not be able to do that. And then it wasn't explained at all. It just
Okay.
happened.
I think I missed that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but there were moments where I was kind of going in and out a little bit, and so there were definitely moments where I missed significant stuff. So that was probably one of them.
Oh, girl. We'll talk about it in spoiler. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
I thought that there were too many battles, very long, stupid battles that kind of sacrificed for story. She
Uh-huh.
sacrificed the character development and her world for these battles that I could give a shit about. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like it. That was a
No,
huge
I did
thing.
not. Yeah. Another thing that I had, it was too predictable in a
Yes.
lot of areas. Way too like, and I don't usually do that because I don't like to spoil a book for myself. But I'm like, hey, you come on. Okay, so that's gonna happen. X, Y, and Z is gonna happen. Oh, there it is. Called it. 2 pages
Yeah.
later. Like, I wasn't surprised. There was no surprise to the story other than the uniqueness of what a bone crier is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Not even stretching it.
Okay. One of my deal breakers is this book had two of them. One is Insta Love, so that was a huge star drop. The other star drop was there were a couple of instances of Deus Ex Machina, and I cannot forgive that. So, and I'll get into that in the spoiler edition, but Sabine in particular did not do anything by herself.
Mm-hmm.
She was supposed to show growth, but her growth was because someone was helping her the entire time.
Yep.
And it was a Deus Ex Machina. That's all I'll say. So,
yeah. And then another dislike, I hated the ending. Because why? It was predictable. You know, like it makes me not want, and there's supposed to be another book. It's supposed to be a sequel. And it's like, but you already know what's gonna happen, or you can pretty well guess how this story is going to end, right? And then there's characters that just show up out of nowhere and there's no explanation as to why. They're just somehow a part of the story, and we're all okay with that. We're supposed to all be okay with that. And I didn't, I didn't like it. I did have like a couple of likes. They're very loose likes.
I already said what my like was. I like the idea of it, but I do not think that this author was a good enough writer to execute it. I think she had a solid idea and it was kind of original, but I just don't think she's a good enough writer to execute this book that she tried to do. Mm-hmm. So I like the lore. I like the whole, I'm even though they have to kill animals to help with their strength, I don't see the connection between fearing the dead, but okay, whatever. I can go with that. I like that. I kind of like that it was all women and they had to have daughters to keep the family business going. I like that they couldn't fall in love. Why they had to kill the guy, not sure, but okay, So I liked the idea of it. Just the execution was just, and that's the only thing I liked about the book.
I did like, this is also a like and a dislike. I liked the idea of having a sprinkle of like this French language in it. Thought that was nice. But it was literally just a sprinkle. Because all of a sudden you're just like, okay, why are we speaking French now? I don't understand. But it's nice, but I don't get it.
Okay.
And I did very loosely enjoy the sisterhood, like bond between Sabine and Aless. Like just their, just their bond in general. You could tell that they were very well bonded. And if you're like a bone crier, like having this bond with your unbiological sisters, right? Like it's really important because there's no one else in their family except the moms and the daughters. And there's only supposed to be one daughter per yeah. So but yet again, very loose. And I didn't like the supporting characters.
There were supporting characters. Oh, Jewel and the brother.
Jewel,
what was his name?
And her brother. I don't remember.
His name is Mark. Whatever. We'll call him that.
Mark. Okay, we can call him that. That's okay. I didn't like him. Yeah. So okay. That's all I have to say, non-spoiler.
All right, so we are going to get into the spoiler edition of The Bone Crier's Moon by Kathryn Purdie in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay, so my first spoiler is Sabine. What the fuck? Did I get this correct? Did she just have some bird like leading her and then she'd be like, hey bird, what do you want from me? Oh, hey bird, is this where you want me to go? hey, bird, is this sword that's under this rock what you want me to use? Hey, bird, like, are you freaking kidding me with this bird? It was a total machina. He came and saved her the whole time.
I know. And then she just had like a change of character once once Celeste is taken, right? Like then she's all of a sudden like, ooh, now I'm gonna have to get all my grace bones, even though I don't want to kill anyone, right? The whole entire premise of the book is Sabine does not like this aspect of killing. She's a bone crier. She literally has to kill something to attain her grace bones and to become a farrier of the dead, right? They're supposed to kill 3 sorts of animals to gain enough power to be able to ferry the dead. I don't understand why she was weird about killing things when she's not supposed to be weird about it. And then they don't talk about it. And then this owl is literally what's her name? Alara? No. Alara's night, like, so apparently the owl is supposed to represent Alara. Like Alara guiding her, so the good guiding her. This white owl thing. Yes, it's supposed. Okay. That's supposed to be what's guiding her, right?
Okay.
But the fact that she just accepted, like, oh, the owl says to do this. Oh, it doesn't look very happy right now. Maybe I should not do that. Okay, owl, like, what are you talking about? Just this weird, like, and why does it choose her? Why does the owl now all of a sudden just decide to help her?
Exactly.
No, we don't know.
Sabine is worthless. She's worthless. And if you expect me to believe that she grows in the end because an owl tells her what to do, no, that's not how that works.
No. Nope. I had a problem with Bastion because, first of all, I did not like the person who narrated for him.
Oh, I liked his voice.
Oh, because I think I had it on like speed read because then that way you can read through it faster. He was like, like he just sounded angry the whole entire time.
That's your fault.
I know. So I was like, oh my gosh, stop talking. Like I couldn't do it, and the fact that it's like he's in love with his best friend, Jewel, from like ever ago. And he's like, oh, I shouldn't have kissed her, but I did it anyway. I can't resist myself when it comes to her. I need to just not look at her. And then all of a sudden he just falls in love with Celeste, even though they're not like that's not her Emery. It's not the real guy. The real guy is the prince from the palace who just shows up in the last like 4 chapters.
Yeah.
And you're like, who's this Cass guy? Like, out of nowhere. They don't talk about the fact that they're being ruled by a kingdom at all.
Oh, yeah. I didn't. Yeah. What was that?
I just want to say, the world was terrible. Like, you had more in the realm of, like, the Bone Crier's realm and, like, what they were doing. And then in, like, the slums of this French city. That's it. I didn't know that it was ruled by a kingdom. Didn't know that the king was dying either. Didn't know that he only had one son. Like, to literally the last chapter. It's like, oh, my dad's dying. And, oh, you're going to prove that you love me. We're going to give this a shot. Because I know we only have 1 year. And, like, their whole... So, like, the Bone Criers are apparently, like, this, like, super superstitious realm of women, right? Like, no one knows their secrets as to why they do things, why they need this special bone of a jackal, like, all this stuff, right? And all of a sudden, there's books all over the place. Okay? Like, when she gets captured, Alex and Bastion's friend, we're going to call him Mark because I cannot remember his name to save my life, which is really sad. He's like, oh yeah, I've been reading about your kind for some time. And she's like, what do you mean? No one's written down anything in your realm. And like, just, yeah. Problems.
Okay, so let me go back to the whole Bastion, and I think her name is Jewel.
It is Jewel, because it's Jewel. Jewel. That's how we say it. It's Jewel.
So I actually didn't hate what she was trying to do, Purdie was trying to do with the whole love triangle thing. I think she was trying to set that up And so I didn't see it as he was in love with his best friend. I see it as it was a moment of weakness. He kissed her and now she is in love with him. But he doesn't think of her that way anymore. But he keeps having these little weaknesses, which I think is human because she's the only woman that he's around. Okay. And she is kind of like batting her eyelashes at him because she likes him. And, there's nothing wrong with that. So I thought their first chapters were really set up pretty well, but I don't think that Purdie executed that love triangle at all. Like there should have been a little bit of jealousy, or, I mean, if he was not in love with Jewel, but in love with Alyssa for some reason, even though she's a Mary Sue, that's another bad thing. She's a Mary Sue. Then okay, but you got to develop that a little bit better, and I don't think Purdie did a good enough job with that.
Yeah, no, I disagree. I agree.
Yeah, the whole captain thing coming in the end, once again, with another author, that another author would have seamlessly have written the whole there's a kingdom and the king is dying and oh psych, Bastion really isn't her whatever it's called. It's really this crown prince over here. Like another author would have woven that in well. And then it would have been a major twist. And he's like, hey, I know I got a year. We got to, then that could have been set up, a great setup for book 2. And Bastion has to come back and, oh, he's not really her, whatever it's called. And he really isn't going to die at the end. Like that could have been a whole good setup. But her execution was just bad.
It was terrible.
Like she didn't know how to write the book.
I know. And that's what's terrible is that like she had a good idea to like what type of story she wanted to tell. It just was poorly executed, and unfortunately you can see that she's not as well versed in her writing at all because it's just like kind of thrown together, and I don't want to read that. Other people don't want to read that. But if you are going more towards like the younger YA, meaning like a 13 14-year-old, like maybe they don't care about the fact that that's not woven super well together. But I don't know. I
agree.
And I had a problem with the whole like matriarch thing, okay? Like so like Alessa's mom, like she somehow defied the gods and had 2 lovers. One was her Emery, but her true Emery was this other guy because she actually loved him. I don't understand that. Like, how was she able to defy the gods' balance and was able to have 2 loves?
Well, Alyssa's setting up for that.
Yeah, but they still took 2 deaths, right? Because she lost both of her guys. She killed the first one right away, and the second one came around and she like had a full like year with him or whatever, and then he died as well. But she's been trying to raise him back from the dead to sacrifice her first daughter because she didn't really love her. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and so that's another plot hole. Like, how was she able to have another lover? And once again, Purdie didn't set that up well. She also didn't set up, and this is what I had on my list, like the relationship was not set up, was not developed between the mom and Alyssa at all. So when Alyssa's captured in the first time, she's about to get saved by her mom, and all her mom wants is that little bone thing or whatever from the jackal or whatever. She just like throws it to me and leaves her. But because Purdie didn't set up that contentious relationship between the 2 of them, I didn't care. It was anticlimactic. And she's all sad and depressed. And that is a legit conflict. Mother-daughter conflicts are legitimate. And she should have developed that a lot more. So that now when she's trying to sacrifice her own daughter to get back the man that she loves, like that is a legit plot. You can have that plot and say she's going to sacrifice her daughter because she's a villain. She's going to sacrifice her daughter to bring back this love that she has. Okay, great. But you also have to show the conflict between her and her daughter. You can't just have a couple of pages and then that's it.
Well, and so that's something that I also had an issue with because, I mean, not only do you have that poorly written conflict, which is supposed to be like a really strong conflict for a book, right? This whole mother-daughter like struggle. and like not loving the child because they actually love the husband, whatever. But the fact that Sabine just became okay with the fact that the matriarch was her mom. Like, oh, I just have to accept this now. And oh, like the matriarch's always looked at me and never criticized me. And but she's criticized her own daughter. Like it's just like this weird revelation for like one chapter. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then she's following her mom around like, oh, how come she has all these other grace bones and the other matriarchs don't have that? That's something that I didn't understand either. They're only supposed to have 3, right? And somehow the queen has 5, and then she has like a hidden bone necklace that doesn't do anything. So we know. So we think. I don't know. Another plot hole. I don't understand that. And when Aless battles her mom, that's what I mean by this unnatural power surge, because she's like trying to ferry the dead, right? Like she's opened up the gate to Teresa's like hell, basically, right? To properly ferry the dead into whether they go somewhere, heaven or hell is basically what it is.
Yeah.
So she's like fighting all of these chained ones, and she doesn't have her grace bones. Or she doesn't have like the appropriate knife, and she's just also like strong to be able to do it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I missed that. But yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all.
I don't get it. And the ending with this book, the fact that like, Bastian's recovering. How in the world did he just somehow come back to life when he was dead on the ferry? Like I don't get that. He had no breath. All of a sudden he surges back to life. And now they're repairing him. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if we said it, but I mean, if you are listening to this, then you read the book. But Sabine, did we say that Sabine is? Yeah, we did. That Sabine is her daughter from the other guy that she's in love with. Yeah, and so she wants Sabine because she loved her father and didn't. She need. I don't know. I'm guessing that maybe the matriarch had all these powers because she was like praying to this god. What was his name? Tristan? I don't know.
Terus or
whatever.
Right.
She was like praying to him, and so maybe he was giving her powers. I don't know. And I thought it was really stupid that the grandma, I don't know her name either. She's like, the mom, not the grandma. She's like, I need the bone of the jackal. And then 2 chapters later, Sabine finds it under a rock because the owl told her where it was. And she's just like, cool, I got it. I'm like, oh my God, no. That is not how that works. I just hated all of that. All of that pacing was just bad.
Yep. It was bad. It was really bad. Like, I did like the fact that, they like I said, there was a good effort.
Yeah.
It was a good effort, but it was not executed well. And like you were telling me like, oh, I had a feeling you're gonna like this book, Ashley, and I'm listening to it and I'm like, what is going on? I don't like what's happening. Why?
You said it yourself. You're becoming a lot more critical. And how was I supposed to know that? You didn't used to be this critical, so I thought you were gonna like it.
Nope. No, and I think it's because of when you read more and you read more things that are along the same supposed genre or type of book, it's like you didn't do that good. No, I read this story and it could have been done better.
Yeah.
So
you're going to run into that as you read more adult fantasy and adult science fiction. You're going to be like, this YA book that I'm reading right now is garbage. How come this adult book is so much better? Like, yeah, because I just finished a book by V. Schwab, and although I didn't like love it to pieces, the writing going from The Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth to V. Schwab was just like, whoa. V. Schwab writes circles around Veronica Roth, even though they're both adult fiction. It's like, yeah. When you do that like back to back, and you see like the differences in writing style, it's a little jarring. I'm not gonna say whether
it's almost like it's like culture shock, to be honest, because you're like, oh, but I'm glad we read it. I mean, it's something new that came out. If you want to read it, go ahead, but you have been warned.
Well, we spoiled it already, so
you
don't need to read it. We told you everything.
Yeah, don't read it. Don't do it.
All right.
I don't even know if I can. Yeah.
I guess the next one we're gonna do is Chosen Ones. How far are you into that one?
I'm 100 pages in. So yeah, we'll definitely do Chosen Ones or Crave by Tracy Wolff.
Oh man, girl, if you gave that book a 3, and that book is big as hell, Ashley.
I know.
Oh my God.
I'll just have to wait and see.
Can I just like read 50 pages and be like negatory? I'm scared. So I have to
probably read it in like 5 hours.
Oh, I don't read that fast.
Yes, you can. I believe in you.
Okay. All right. So the next it will be Chosen Ones, because you're gonna finish Chosen Ones before I finish Crave. Like that's gonna happen. So
absolutely, more than likely, which is okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do that, and then we're also gonna be reading Fable by Adrienne Young. Right? That's her name. Yeah.
What else has she written? Her name is familiar. Adrienne Young.
Adrienne Young. I feel like did she write that title series, or is that not her? Do you know what I'm talking about? The title series?
No.
Well,
she wrote.
She wrote The Sky in the Deep. That's what she wrote. Sorry.
Okay. I actually like The Sky in the Deep, so I'm hoping that she's a good writer, because I actually like that book. So she did Hate to Love really good. Hate to Love romance. So okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna be talking about those, and during our quarantine here, you just have to keep listening on in.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Bye-bye.